Karev Yom, Asher hu lo Yom v'layla. Karev Yom, Asher hu lo Yom v'layla. Karev Yom, Asher hu lo Yom v'layla. Karev Yom, Asher hu lo Yom v'layla.
Welcome everyone to Shalvah this week, and this week we're getting ready for Pesach. Looking forward to the holiday, and thought we would look at this verse that's from it's a song we often sing at the Seder on Pesach, but it comes from a much longer poem that is a traditional part of the Haggadah. It's not even the whole poem is not even found in most Haggadot these days. So this verse itself says, Karev Yom, bring near, speaking to God, bring near to us the day, a day that's neither day nor night. So it's sort of I don't know, it's a puzzle or a riddle in some ways. What is the day that is neither day nor night? So this is actually the last stanza of the poem. The poem begins with the words, "It came to pass at midnight, Vayihi b'chatzi halayla," and that comes from the Torah in telling the story of the Exodus from Egypt. That the way the Torah tells the story, the Exodus came at midnight. In the middle of the night was the moment when Pharaoh finally agreed to let the people go. And the middle of the night was when the people roused themselves to get ready to pack all their things and to leave Egypt, finally to leave slavery and march towards freedom. So that all happened in the middle of the night. And this poem, "It came to pass at midnight," looks at that moment and says, that's not the only moment where something transformational happened that was in the middle of the night, b'chatzi halayla. So it goes through the Torah and even the Tanakh and looks at different moments when something transformational happened in the middle of the night. Some of those are explicitly in the text that it happened at night, but many of those are in the interpretation of the rabbis that it happened in the middle of the night. An example would be Abraham. It tells in the Torah that Abraham had a struggle with these kings and he triumphed over them. They say, well, that happened in the middle of the night. Or explicitly in the text, when Abraham encountered the king of Gerar in his travels, and the king got a message from God not to hurt Abraham in any way, that in the text, it's a dream. It happens in the middle of the night. And then it goes on and on and on, all the way to the book of Daniel, which is very far into the Tanakh. And it says that when Daniel was delivered from the lion's den, that happened in the middle of the night. So it's trying to get us to see maybe that the middle of the night is an important time for transformation. And part of it is because it's really not day or night. That's what it's trying to say, is that there's something about that moment and the moment of transformation that can happen in it that is outside of the cycle of day or night. That is outside of, it stands between the idea of redemption associated with the day and the idea of oppression, which is associated with the night, and says, well, there's something actually that can be the starting point, that can be the catalyst that takes us from one state to the other. And that moment itself is not actually day or night. It's something else that leads to transformation. The other thing it's trying to teach us, I think, about the moment of midnight and maybe the moment of Pesach itself, all these moments where transformation happens at midnight, is that, transformation doesn't happen during the day. It doesn't happen in the light. It doesn't happen when things are good. We don't see transformation coming to us at a moment when everything seems fine. And then, oh, yes, in addition, we have this wonderful moment of redemption. That's not it. It's actually when the night is darkest, at the middle of the night, at midnight, when we're furthest from the rising of the sun or the setting of the sun. That's the moment. And it's important to remember maybe that for the ancient rabbis, that's what Chatzi Halayla means. It means the middle of the night. In other words, the time that's equidistant between sunset and sunrise. They didn't, not the hours of the clock as we know it. It's not 12 o'clock midnight. It's literally the middle of the night, the time when we're the furthest from the setting or rising of the sun. So that's the moment to look for redemption. Not the moment everything seems fine, not even maybe the moment when things seem to be getting better, even the moment when things seem to be getting worse. When we start to lose hope of change, that's the moment to look for something to happen, for getting this time, this kind of day that takes us from the night into the day. It takes us from oppression to redemption, from slavery to liberation. That's when we have to look for it, is in the middle of the night. And one of the things it says about in the poem about the reason that this transformation happens is because we call out. It says the Israelites called out to God in the middle of the night. That's when God heard them and caused there to be a day rather than the night. It took us from night to day. So when it's teaching us that when we're reliving in the Pesach story, this very, very difficult time for our people, that was the time they needed to look for light. It was hard for them. We know in the story that they don't believe it's going to happen. They don't trust Moses. They don't even trust God, that God can get them out of that. They feel like they really have no hope that transformation is going to happen. And they're saying, well, that's the moment. The moment you lose hope is the moment you should have the most hope, because that's the moment that transformation can really happen. So for us, as we look at our own situations, whether our personal situations and the challenges we face, or maybe our communal situation, here we are laboring under this virus, laboring under this pandemic, that although there are signs of hope on the horizon, we're still not there. We see it far off, and it's a moment that's very hard for us to keep going. When we've been pushing ourselves to keep going for so long, it's been now over the mark of a year of living through this thing. That moment when it's so hard for us to have hope, here this poem is saying, and this verse is saying, that's the moment to have hope. That if we cry out in that moment, then we have that possibility of bringing a time that stands between the night and the day, and that leads us from the night into the day, the dawning of redemption.
So, using that idea of transition and bringing that to the breath, one of the amazing gifts of a mindfulness practice is that it takes as my mother calls it, the free floating cloud of anxiety, and it distills it into a little capsule that is manageable. So we're going to do a simple breath meditation today. So I invite you to get comfortable and sit in a comfy but poised and upright manner. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can close them or rest your gaze softly on the floor in front of you. And we're going to take a couple of deep breaths to begin. Also noticing the points of contact that your body is making with your seat, your feet on the floor, your hands resting in your lap. Really feeling those deep breaths, really feeling those points of contact. You know that you are sitting and you have arrived right here. So using your breath as an anchor today and paying particular careful attention to the transition between your inhalation and your exhalation. Not trying to influence your breath, just noticing, if you can, when that instant occurs. Breathing, noticing when the inhalation changes to an exhalation, and back to an inhalation. With gentle but focused awareness, following your breath. Not straining, just paying attention. Continuing to bring your focus back to your breath. Continuing to pay attention to that miraculous and effortless transition from inhalation to exhalation. Simply sitting and breathing and noticing. Gently catching your awareness. If it travels like you would catch a string on a balloon, gently bringing it back to your breath, back to that inhalation and exhalation. That tiny moment of change. Gentle, focused awareness on your breathing. resting in the awareness of your breath. Letting this exclusive focus on breathing be restorative, be restful. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. And taking a couple of deeper breaths, bringing awareness to your feet and hands, your seat, coming back into your body, maybe wiggling your fingers or toes, rolling your neck. When you're ready, letting the light of your room into your eyes again, stretching or twisting, whatever feels good, all of the above. And really appreciating yourself for making space for meditation and chanting. What a gift to yourself and all the people that love you and spend time with you, virtually or in person. And we'll chant together a little bit more before we go. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla. Karev Yom, Karev Yom, Asher hu lo yom velalayla.
So thank you, friends, for being together this week. And as we move towards Pesach, may we feel even the moments that feel the most difficult, that maybe we're right there. Maybe we're right there in the middle of the night, where we're right there when start to move towards transformation, just as at all these moments of our history, it's happened when the night is at its darkest. Thank you for being with us today.